Hi, I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today. Let's explore a concept that I find very useful in diagnosing and treating problems that you find in your business. I've observed quite frequently when speaking with business owners and they share a particular problem that they're having, that often it comes down to what might otherwise seem obvious problem that they failed to treat. It's a major cause of failure in business, a major cause of stagnation, if such a thing exists. And what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to is a lack of alignment of stakeholder objectives. Let me say that again. A lack of alignment of stakeholder objectives. So when we explore this idea, the first thing I guess we need to do is define stakeholders. So what I'm referring to in terms of stakeholders in your business is the owner, of course, the management team of the business, the employees, the frontline team members, all those that are responsible for the production, logistics, sales, operation of your business, the customers of your business, the vendors and supply chain with which your business works and cooperates in order to operate, and the surrounding community, those that are touched by your business dealings. So those are all stakeholders. And anytime there's incongruence in objectives of those various stakeholders, it's going to manifest in your business as a problem of some kind. Some of the common things you will find is that you'll have what appears to be conflict between employees, or it might seem like a personality conflict, but you're having people who should otherwise get along and they're just not cooperating with one another. It seems to you that they should be collaborating to bring success in their departments and in your business, but it's just not happening, and you're forever going back and readdressing issues that they bring up. That's one symptom that you'll find. Another one would be that there is a tendency for stop and start regarding projects. So you're having stalled progress in the accomplishment of projects. If you're failing to hit targets and you can't hit specific goals that you have, if you are simply not growing as a business, this is one of the areas that you should look. So how do you know whether or not you have an alignment of objectives? Well, as I said, and it may sound a little bit like circular logic, but this is a diagnostic method. So what you're doing whenever you're having trouble in business is you're looking to the symptoms, and communicating with your staff is a great way of ascertaining. And with smaller businesses, those alignment of objectives can be within the owners themselves. And often it may be, say, a husband and a wife that own a business together, and they actually want different base objective things that they're trying to accomplish. And they haven't really thoroughly discussed that. So communication is the best way to uncover these things. So what I've seen time and again is that it may come down to something like remuneration and pay plans. So if you had, say, two different departments who should be collaborating, and it should be in their best interest to collaborate and everyone would win, but it doesn't happen. When you look closely at the pay plans, how the various people who control the actions of that department are remunerated, you'll very often find a lack of alignment, some incongruity with the objectives that these people have. Or it could be the way that performance is measured. So the performance metrics that you use, maybe someone is rewarded and lauded and praised by the boss by accomplishing a certain thing, and that very thing is in their interest, but it's conflict of interest. It's in conflict with somebody else, what they're being asked to achieve. I see this time and again. This may not be intuitive. You may not realize this. You have to look at it. You have to stop and ask yourself. So the first thing is, do you have a problem? Okay, so what's the problem? Ask yourself, what are your major problems in your business? And then start to ask yourself, could it be a lack of alignment of objectives between various stakeholders, whether it's a couple of owners or ownership and management? Could it be a lack of alignment of objectives between your business and your customers? Price seems like one that you should accept that there's going to be a conflict of interest. You might think, well, I want to collect as much as possible and have my prices as high as possible, and my customer wants the price as low as possible. But that, of course, is a lack of alignment of objectives. So you're going to experience friction, you're going to experience problems, and they will manifest in ways such as a lack of sales. When you look deeper, that's not really what you want. What you want is the accomplishment of whatever objectives you set out for yourself, not the least of which will be profitability. But profitability doesn't necessarily mean higher prices. In fact, some of the most successful and profitable businesses in the world, I'm not sure if Amazon is officially declaring a lot of profit these days or not. They've historically reinvested so much in the business that on the balance sheet, they may not show that they've generated a lot of profit. But we all know that business like Amazon, very successful. Walmart, Costco, some of these businesses that are known for their low prices are very successful and very profitable. So you can, as a business owner, actually align your objective with your customer to have the lowest prices possible. What you want to do is create the highest value possible. And also, customers don't necessarily always want the lowest price. Consumer surveys repeatedly return results that indicate that price is not the number one consideration. It all boils down to value. People want quality. So of course you could trim quality measures to lower prices, but that's not what customers typically want. You have to figure out what your target market wants. The point there is that don't assume that the customer just wants a lower and lower price. The customer may be willing to pay a little more or even significantly more if he was able to get the product or service delivered in a particular way, if it offered certain conveniences, and so on. So it's really about value. And don't forget the 4 ways you can increase value with your product or service. The first is a better customer experience. So friendly staff and just ease, just the customer experience, whatever the customer is experiencing to get from A to Z in transacting with your business. If it's a very favorable, satisfactory, more than satisfactory experience, that increases value. Number 2, the quality of your product. And there's a variety of ways you can increase quality in your product. Number 3, the convenience for your customer, which is very much related to the customer experience. How can you increase convenience for your customer? And number 4 is price. So those are the various ways that you can increase value. But getting back to the idea of aligning your objectives, don't you really want those same things? I think all business owners want for their customers to have great value. You'll sleep better at night the better value you offer your customers. If you are quote unquote successful in delivering a product that lacks value, it won't be sustainable. Your customers will discover the lack of value over time. And if you know that, you're not going to sleep well. You're not going to be satisfied with your definition of short-term success. So again, it really comes down to alignment of objectives. Ask yourself with your suppliers, are you competing with, do you have competing interests with your various suppliers? And try to communicate with all of the stakeholders. In terms of customers, surveys and feedback, reviews, testimonials, those types of things are a great feedback loop and mechanism through which you can determine whether or not you want what they want. And if not, explore with your partners and with your management team and even with your customers how you can better deliver what they want and still get what you want. Like, a customer doesn't want you to go out of business. If they really like your product or service, they want to see you thrive as a business, so you'll be around to service them and provide for their needs in the future. So that's one way to communicate with customers. Communicate with your staff and your frontline team members, those that make it happen day in and day out. And again, for those smaller businesses, some of the people watching this who may have only an operation of a family operation, as an example, whether it's around the supper table, maybe separate your business and your pleasure. I would advise, but have a staff meeting. Whether your staff is large or small, have a mechanism where you can communicate candidly and openly. And you need to create an environment where people feel safe and confident that they can be candid and share their true opinions. Because if you have a culture where people are used to being sort of chastised for being critical, or, it's all about have a positive attitude. And as soon as somebody is critical of management or the business, they all of a sudden are deemed to have a bad attitude. You can't create a culture like that and then expect to align objectives, because in order to align objectives, you need good communication among the stakeholders. And in order to do that, you have to foster an environment of trust. So figure out ways between all the various stakeholders. And I really don't recommend, you can create mechanisms for anonymous feedback, but I would say if that's necessary, then there's a culture lacking trust in your business and you want to work on that. So maybe that's a temporary solution where you can create anonymous feedback mechanisms for people to give you constructive criticism that you can work on. But it's really difficult with anonymity, because if somebody has a really valid point, or maybe it's something you completely disagree with, but you are open-minded and you consider that it could be valid, how are you going to seek clarity and greater detail from them if it's anonymous? So I would incent my team to give critical feedback and let them know that they'll be rewarded for that. And the main way that people want to be rewarded, people are happy to give feedback. Any stakeholder is happy to give their feedback if they think they can get what they want. People are always asking, what's in it for me? If what's in it for me to provide my boss or somebody I'm at risk, maybe I'm a supplier and you're the business and I'm critical of a particular way you do business, but I don't want to hurt your feelings as my customer. But I find out that by doing so, I can help you be more successful and you be grateful to me, I'm more likely to do that. So always try to figure out ways that you can encourage fluid and honest, open, candid communication, and do this regularly. So start by diagnosis. Start by asking yourself and analyzing your business. Where are we experiencing these symptoms, these starts and stops, this stalled progress on projects? Where are we experiencing seeming personality conflicts and ongoing conflicts among team members? And then start to look at things like, how am I rewarding these people? How is their remuneration plan laid out? How are we measuring their performance? And is there a lack of congruence between team members and between all stakeholders? Try to align that. And just do this always, perpetually refine. You're looking for continuous improvement. Always try to find a way to get a little bit better, a little bit better. Seek to implement 100% of the suggestions for improvement you have. Do not have an arrogant attitude that your way is the best way. You may be the smartest person in your operation, but you need your team. You need all the stakeholders to cooperate in order to have success. So there's no sense in being right and then spinning your wheels and not being successful. Instead, see if you can't listen to the other stakeholders and empower them to implement these solutions and see what happens. Just always be refining and have that culture where, okay, well, we tried that. There were some successes we can take away from that, but there were also some areas that it didn't really accomplish the objective we set out in the beginning. And so we're going to try again. Implement, implement, implement. That's what innovation is about. One other thing that I would say that is often at odds and causes this problem where there's a lack of congruity between objectives among the stakeholders is policy. Be careful. I think it was Dr. Stephen Covey who said, you can tell how well a business is managed by how many signs that they have posted all around. You ever walk into maybe a healthcare professional's office and they've got all these little signs posted about all their various policies? Or maybe you've worked for a company that they're forever in the lunchroom posting new policies and there's always this new rule and everything. That's a symptom of a cultural problem. So be careful in implementing policies. If you want to think of it outside the context of business, think about it in government. Every time we impose a new law, there's unintended consequences. These are often well-intentioned ideas that we generate laws from, but there's always unintended consequences. If you can just accept that premise, then I would say to you, as I do, as soon as I want to set a policy, I always back up and I say, well, let's not make this a policy. Let's call this maybe a best practice. And if you need a way around this for how you operate within our environment, within our culture, then let's share that. And let's find out what a better way of doing it, and always be sharing. So try not to put things in writing as written in stone. It's okay to document things as a best practice, but I would communicate with the stakeholders and say, these are guidelines. Stephen Covey likes to say, where mores are sufficient, laws are unnecessary. Where mores are insufficient, laws are unenforceable. Putting a whole bunch of policies in place, and you've seen this with laws, people just find a way around them. They get very legalistic and finding a way that they can't get caught or whatever. You don't want that kind of culture. Instead, you want a culture where people are looking to respect one another and trust one another and do what's in the best interest of the community. So let's leave it at that for today. Put in the comments if you've experienced some kind of problem in your business and you later ascertained that it was in fact a conflict of interest or a lack of alignment of objectives between the stakeholders. Ask me specific questions if you'd like me to get into something more detailed. Disagree, agree, whatever you want. This is for you. I hope you took a note and you can take something away actionable today. Don't just turn off the video and then go to business as usual. Sit down, even if you're not writing anything and you're just sort of staring into space and you're thinking. Really, successful business happens between the ears kind of thing. It's about thinking and analyzing and applying mechanisms and applying analysis for perpetual refinement. Thanks. Have a great day.